Back, everyone. It's good to see some faces again and see some names again. I hope, between when we spoke on Monday and today, if anything ever came up for any of you all, you felt like you had some tools of what to do if we were worried about ourselves, or if we're worried about a friend, or, felt a little bit more empowered to have this conversation, maybe with our friends or with family members or whoever it is that we live with, to maybe talk a little bit more about mental health. I'm going to put the numbers that I gave for you at the beginning of the last time we met. These are the numbers again for the crisis text line and the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Again, reach out to your trusted adults, but if you feel like you need to, these are, again, numbers that you could call or text 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So these are extra supports. You can always message myself. We have Adriana here. We have, again, so many of your facilitators here. So if anything comes up, please don't hesitate. So does anyone remember what ACT stands for? Again, you could unmute, you could put it in the chat, whatever you feel most comfortable with.
It was acknowledge, care, tell.
Awesome. Thank you. Right. So again, if we're ever worried about a friend, we're going to acknowledge that we see maybe changes in behavior or changes in mood or changes in our friends or even ourselves. We're going to take it seriously. We're going to show that our friends that we care about them, that we're here for them, and we are going to tell a trusted adult. So, we talked about a lot of warning signs, and we're going to watch, I think we'll only have time to watch one more video. So we'll watch one more and we'll kind of wrap everything up. We'll look at more warning signs and then we'll talk a little bit about coping skills. And we'll see how much we can get through in the short amount of time that we have together. But again, don't hesitate if you have questions, if you have concerns, comments, whatever it is, we are absolutely here for you. And I'm going to pull up our next video. I'm hopefully in a place with better service, so this shouldn't be an issue. And let me share sound.
My name is Ellie Peltola. I am 20 years old and I was adopted in Brazil. I had a really good childhood. I've lived in a lot of different countries, a lot of different states. In the second grade, we moved across the country and I've been living here ever since.
The summer going into fifth grade, we met at a dance audition and we've been friends ever since. Ellie and I were kind of crazy children. We used to make these little music videos.
From the beginning, she was a joy.
I had a lot of friends, enjoyed connecting with other kids of her age.
I remember from a very young age always being very insecure and always not liking how I looked. Every little thing that people could pick apart about me is what they would do, and it really, really got to me. I was bullied really bad, and because of that, I felt so worthless. I felt like nobody loved me. I didn't care about my hygiene. I didn't care about what I was wearing. I literally just didn't care. When I'm depressed, I physically cannot get out of bed and I feel sick to my stomach. I started to hurt myself when I was around 12 years old, and it became a really big struggle of mine. I felt like because I hated myself so much, I felt like I needed to punish myself because I didn't feel like I was worthy and I didn't feel like I was deserving of having a body with no scars on it. So I put myself in situations that I was not comfortable with, but I did it because I felt like I needed to feel wanted by at least one person. The substance abuse, I was using that to feel numb, and there have been times where it's put my life in danger.
Some warning signs that I saw early on was that she didn't really have a plan for the future.
She started becoming very angry. She would, every time we tried to talk to her, she would just close the door, bang the door.
And a little bit more withdrawn and into herself and hiding in her room.
She would just tell me things like she didn't want to live, like she didn't want to be here.
It's really intimidating to get help. That's like an understatement. Like, it is so hard to admit that you have a problem and to be able to ask someone if they can help you.
It was late at night and Ellie called me talking about how she was about to kill herself. And I was really scared. I was really nervous. And I went to my mom crying and I asked her for help, and my mom texted her parents.
So that's when we got into action to try to find ways to help her.
When she asked me not to tell anybody, I would either be like, oh yeah, sure, I'm not gonna tell anybody, and tell somebody, or I would just tell her straight up and be like, hey, I have to tell somebody so you can get better and so you won't be in this position anymore.
To be honest, I was mad at her for about a week. It really didn't last that long. And in the end, I thanked her because she saved my life.
I think I was a friend. I think that's what I did.
It was so beneficial having that one person who, you know, she didn't understand what I was going through, but she never left my side. I really benefited from therapy. In movies, depression, they make it seem like, you know, your world is black and white all the time. And that's not true at all. Depression will always be something that I have, but it's definitely, the color has started to come back. And, you know, I still live my life authentically having depression. I learned about coloring and painting and anything art related. And that was actually one of the biggest coping skills that I used. My room has all these different posters that I've made, and I felt like working with my hands was really helpful for me.
She loves life and loves life now. She has come a long way, and yes, I am very proud of her. She's a joy in our lives.
I think she has already proven that she can live and others can live with mental health challenges.
Because without the help, my daughter wouldn't be here now. And I wouldn't be here to tell you the story about how wonderful daughter she is.
I had a really hard time seeing that there were people out there who loved me. And I think that that is a really big thing to remember, is that you are loved.
A lot of people worry that if they go tell an adult on their friend, that their friend's going to be really mad at them. And the thing is, sometimes friends are a little upset at first, but usually in the long run, people feel super grateful that someone cared enough to get them help.
This isn't good.
What? What isn't good?
I'm worried about Carmen. Something's up.
What do you mean?
This guy in her drama club was asking me what's up with her skipping rehearsals. He said that when she does show up, it's like she's in her own world, zoned out.
Well, that's how creative types are.
Yeah, but she's got the lead role in this year's big production. How do you just not show up to rehearsals? Plus, she's not really hanging out with us anymore. Something's wrong.
Yes, because there has to be something seriously wrong with anyone who doesn't want to hang out with us.
Then this. She stopped posting anything like a month ago, and I've been texting her since last week, and she just responded this morning.
So?
It said something like, it's okay, you won't have to worry about me much longer. I've been thinking about that TV show we watched, about the kid who killed himself, and how there are almost always warning signs, but you don't realize it until it's too late.
Okay, if she had actually said something about, killing herself, then I'd be just as worried as you. But at this point, you're kind of just jumping to conclusions.
You think?
Yeah, maybe she just doesn't want you to worry. She's probably talking to other people, or she's just tired of high school plays. You should think twice before reporting her to the counselor.
You think I'm overreacting?
Yes, you are.
I don't know, maybe you're right. I'll check in with her later and see how she's doing. And I'll leave Mr. Matthews out of it for now. Yeah, maybe I was jumping to conclusions. Maybe I should have minded my own business. But you know what? That was a risk I wasn't going to take. I'm gonna do it. I'll tell him about Drama Club and what I told you, and we'll let him decide what to do.
Carmen's not gonna like this. I know I wouldn't.
Like it or not, I'd do the same for you. I waited outside the office so I could catch Carmen and explain why Mr. Matthews wanted to talk with her. James was right. She didn't appreciate it. She accused me of betraying our friendship and invading her privacy. She didn't hold back. I stayed calm and I told her that I was worried about her and that I cared about her a lot. I told Carmen I'd be waiting for her outside, that we could talk later if she wanted. Or not. It was up to her.
Hi, Carmen, come on in. You know, I saw you in the musical last year. I had no idea you could sing like that.
Thanks, but I know that's not why I'm here.
You're right. I guess you know a couple of your friends are worried about you.
Angelina told me.
Why do you think she's concerned?
I don't know. She said something about how I was skipping rehearsals and not answering her texts, not hanging out with her as much, things like that.
Well, things like that are often signs that you're struggling with something you might need help with. All kinds of students need help for all sorts of reasons. That's why I'm here. Carmen, Angelina also mentioned a text that really had her concerned.
Yeah, I know.
When you're ready, I want to talk more about that. I'm here to help. You're not alone. So, can we talk?
Okay, so let's talk about that first scenario that we watched with Ellie and Michaela. So those were the two friends who we met Ellie's parents as well, who talked about kind of their experience with their daughter. What warning signs did you all hear in Ellie's story? What were some things that might have been concerning that she talked about, how she felt, or behaviors that she was engaging in? What seemed concerning in her story? And they using substances, constant anger. She said she didn't want to be here anymore. Yeah, started getting really angry, right? And we talked about, like, it's not always sadness. And I think sometimes that's a hard thing to notice when a friend or somebody is like acting out and they're really angry and they lash out and you think like, okay, I don't want to really be around you. I don't like the way you're acting. I don't like the way you're talking to me. But realizing that there may be something else going on in these scenarios, like realizing that that anger is coming from somewhere else, and that could be a red flag. Yeah, she was hurting herself, isolating herself from her friends, from family, self-harming, right? She said she had this feeling of not belonging. She had these feelings of worthlessness. She said she felt like, she didn't want to live. She withdrew. She put herself in unsafe situations with using substances, with, being around people or hanging out with people that were not good for her. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff there that were a lot of red flags. Yeah, getting herself in compromising positions, right? And she said, I didn't feel like I had a body that was worth taking care of. Right, and she said, like, she didn't even take care of her hygiene, like she just didn't care. So those were a lot of things that were going on with her. How was her friend Michaela a good friend to Ellie? So what did her friend do? She told, yeah. Right, and she took it all pretty seriously. She wasn't just like, okay, you're going through something, whatever, we all go through things. She took it really seriously, right? Ellie said even though Michaela didn't know what she was going through, right, she never left her side. And she recognized that this was like, I need to say something. This is something that's really serious, especially when Ellie started saying things like, I don't want to live, right? She said, I'm here for you. I don't know the pain that you're experiencing, but I know that I see that you are experiencing something. I see you're experiencing pain. I am here for you. We need to tell somebody. And so that's, where she used that ACT message, right? She said, like, this is concerning. She went and she told her mother, who then told Ellie's parents, who then said, like, this is when we snapped into action. Because again, sometimes people don't realize that something is so serious, or, it's hard to see when we're in it. So these are the moments where you say, like, I just need to tell somebody, I need to talk to somebody about what's going on. So what did Ellie say helped her feel better? What helped her feel better in this situation? What worked for her? Talking to a therapist? painting, art, drawing. Yeah. She said that therapy helped a lot. She said that she really enjoyed, working with her hands, like painting or drawing, right? She said she did these murals in her room that were really cathartic to her, helped her feel a lot better. So, thinking about coping skills that also worked for her in addition to therapy. So how can we use Ellie and Michaela's story to convince a friend to get help? Like thinking about this story, thinking about this scenario, how could we use it if we're ever worried about a friend, and use it kind of as a way to think and to convince a friend to get help? Right, how can we think about this story? And if we have a friend who's going through something maybe similar or showing some of these warning signs, how can we think about this story and try and convince our friends to get help? I think sometimes when someone has depression, they often believe that things are never going to get better, that the way you feel is the way you're going to feel forever, and there is nothing you can do about it. What's so important is to remind people that, one, help is available, right? Those who are struggling with depression, to know that depression is treatable, and that help isn't bad. Yeah, right? And tell someone even if they don't want to, right? Telling them that even if they're mad at us right now, that you're telling because you care. Yeah, and I think that's something that we'll even talk about a little bit more when we talk about with the next scenario that we watch, right? There's nothing wrong with help. There's nothing wrong with therapy. There's nothing wrong with saying like, I need help, right? I think we all like think it, if someone like breaks their leg, if someone gets sick, we're like, oh, take some medicine, take some Dayquil, put on a cast. We're not like, oh, you just need to think positively and your broken leg is going to heal itself, right? No, we need help. And I think that we need to become more comfortable realizing that we need help and that it's normal to get help for mental health conditions like depression or really anything else. There's nothing wrong with getting help. We need it for so many things. And I think like we never are ashamed to be like, oh, I can't reach that. Can somebody get that off the shelf for me? Oh, I cut myself really deep. I think I need to see a doctor, right? Like we need to think of mental health the same way that we think about physical health and taking care of it, that there's nothing wrong with getting help, and that it's absolutely normal. Like I think everyone should, talk to somebody, talk to a therapist, whether you're depressed or not. I think like having somebody to talk to is really, really helpful. And maybe for some people it's medication, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Maybe it's the combination of two, right? Maybe it's medication, maybe it's therapy and working those two together. There's never anything wrong with getting help. No one would ever like say, oh, you're taking like Dayquil because you've got a cold. Like that's not real, Someone might say that, but you should ignore those people because like take medicine if you're sick. Take care of yourselves. You are important. You are important that you should be taken care of. So again, with Ellie and Michaela, I think she highlights the importance of getting help, right? She said she still struggles with depression, right? She still has her struggles, but she is able to find her happiness through treatment and through coping skills. So then when we talk about Angelina and Carmen, right, that's that second scenario that we watched. What warning signs did Angelina notice in her friend Carmen? What did she notice when she, was talking to James, right? A lack of interest. She was missing rehearsal, right? And she had the lead in the play, withdrawing from the things that she likes. Excuse me. She wasn't texting like she used to or talking to them like she used to. Yeah, absolutely. She wasn't responding to messages. And then when she did finally respond to a message, she said like, you're not going to have to worry about me much longer. Yeah, being really distant. Yeah, so there are a lot of things that were super concerning. And we saw the two ways that James and Angelina handled that situation. What did they do wrong in that first scenario, right? Where did James go wrong and Angelina go wrong in that first scenario that we saw about how they, you know, talked about how to handle this. James said it was no big deal. Yeah. Ignored the signs. Yep. He made it seem like she was overreacting, right? He said like she's the artsy type. You know, maybe she's just being dramatic. Like that is not a thing. There is no type of person that we should ever ignore warning signs. I don't care like what music they're into, what food, what clothing, what things they like to do. Never ignore these warning signs. And I think, right, like he said, like, well, that like she's the drama type, she's the artsy type, she's just into herself. Like there's never a kind of person that we should ignore these kinds of warning signs. Yeah, and he made Angelina think that she was overreacting, and she had this gut feeling. And I think that that's something that's so important. Like oftentimes we get these gut feelings, like something doesn't seem right. Something doesn't seem right with a friend, or like even the way that I feel right now, saying like, I don't feel okay right now. Like trust that you know these things, trust that you know your friends, trust that you know yourselves. And if something doesn't feel right, you need to do something about it, right? And he said like, oh, she's gonna be mad at you for reporting her. And we'll talk about that in a second. But right, like you're not reporting on anybody when you're trying to get somebody help, right? And so in that second scenario, how did they act in the right way? How did they use that acknowledge, care, tell correctly? All right, what do they do differently that was like the right way to how we should handle this? Right, first they acknowledged the situation, right? Saw the signs and decided to tell an adult, right? When Angelina acknowledged those worrying signs, she's like, I'm gonna take these seriously, right? She cares enough to kind of ignore James when he tells her like she's being dramatic or whatever. She says, you know what? I would do the same for you. This is concerning. I need to tell someone. And she said, like, I'm going to go tell a counselor, right? She reached out to her friend, and her friend didn't want to communicate with her. So she said, you know what? I need to go tell somebody else. And then she texted Carmen and said, listen, I told someone, I'm worried about you. I am here for you if you want to talk or you don't want to talk. How do you all think you would react if you were Carmen and a friend went and, you know, talked to an adult, talked to a counselor, talked to somebody about you? If they were worried about you, how would you react if you found out, like someone came up to you and said, you know, your friend was really worried about you. They told me about these things that you said. How would you react if that happened, if you were in that situation? Mad, thankful, maybe both. You'd appreciate them. Yeah. Be upset outwardly, but deep down know that they care. Yeah. Frustrated, a bit upset. Yeah. I think sometimes we feel like people are telling our business, and I think that's a lot of reasons why I'd probably be mad for a couple of days and know that they really care. But I think a lot of times people are scared to say something because they're worried that their friends are going to be mad at them. And honestly, sometimes people are mad, right? They're mad that someone told their business, it wasn't your place to say anything. And I think that's a lot of times that people are scared to, people are like, as a friend, they're scared to say something to an adult, and they're scared for their friends to be mad at them. I want you to know that like when you tell an adult about a friend, you are not tattling on someone, you are not getting them in trouble, you are not ratting them out. I think that is really important to know. Like when you tell someone, you are making sure that your friend gets the help that they need. And I think a lot of times people come around, right? People come around, right? I think somebody said I'd be mad for a couple of days, but I know they really care, right? So you might be mad for a little bit and then realize like, oh, somebody saw the pain that I'm going through. Somebody saw that I'm not okay, right? My friends see me. They see that I'm not acting myself. They see that something is going on, and they care enough about me to like put themselves in this uncomfortable situation to get me the help that I need. And so, you know, hopefully your friends will get over it. And, you know, I always say, like, sometimes your friends might not get over it, but I would rather a friend mad at me and alive than do nothing. And I know that that's like a very harsh thing to, like, reality to say, but in these scenarios, like, we need to say something because we really don't know what's going to go on with somebody. And I would rather be extra cautious than feel like maybe I should have said something. It would make me feel seen because Carmen was going through, was trying to hide what she was going through. Yeah. And I think sometimes a lot of time people feel like nobody sees the pain that I'm going through. No one knows what's going on. Or maybe sometimes people try and hide their pain. And so in this scenario, right, she's saying, like, I just need to say something. I see the pain that you're going through. I am here for you no matter what. If you don't want to talk to me, then I will find someone else that you can talk to. And so, you know, we keep talking about a trusted adult, and yeah, you'll feel guilty if you never said anything. And, you know, like I mentioned earlier, like, I don't want anyone to feel blame on themselves. I want being here for us to feel empowered, to look out for our friends, to say something to our friends. And if maybe our friends kind of shut us out, to say, like, to not just leave it, but then to tell an adult. So, you know, we are human and we do the best that we can. So I never want anyone to feel like they've done something wrong. I want you to feel really empowered to reach out, to look out for warning signs, and to take these really seriously and to do something about it. And so, you know, we always talk about, like, a trusted adult. Like, a trusted adult is any adult that you feel comfortable talking to if you're worried about yourself or if you're worried about a friend. And I'd love to hear from you all. Who are your trusted adults in your life? Who are the people that you feel like you can turn to if you're worried about yourself or a friend? I'd love to hear from everyone. I hope everyone, or if you don't want to share, like, I hope that you're all thinking about, like, who are your trusted adults? Who are the people that you can turn to? Your mom, yeah. Older cousin. Best friends, mom, brother. Your mom. I see a lot of people have their moms, which is a beautiful thing, right? A family member that you feel like you can talk to. And some people might not, and that's okay. I know growing up, like, I talked to my older sister. I did not, like, talking to my mom seemed like it was not something that I felt comfortable doing, right? So it's important to think about maybe other family members or other people in your community or in your personal community, right? So maybe it's another relative, like an aunt or an uncle or an older sibling. Maybe it's godparents, or maybe you have, like, your best friend's parents are easier to talk to than your parents, right? Sometimes, like, talking to your friend's parents are much easier than talking to your own parents. It could be someone maybe at school, or maybe someone from, like, the summer work ready program, right? Maybe it's a mentor that you have, or a teacher or a coach. Maybe it's your therapist, right? Maybe that's your person who you're like, that's the person I feel comfortable talking to, and talking to a relative does not work for me, you know? So I appreciate you all who shared, because I think it's really important for us to think about, like, who are the people in our lives that we can turn to. And I always want you to know, like, if you turn to a trusted adult and you feel like they don't take you seriously, find someone else to talk to. Adults, unfortunately, can make these mistakes too and say things like, oh, it's fine, it's a stage, and, like, that is so unhelpful. If you find that someone is saying that to you, get yourself another adult, right? Say, like, I told this person, and you don't even have to say that. You could just find a new adult. But, like, I know that unfortunately, as adults, we are human too, and we make mistakes. And I would say, like, it needs to be taken seriously. So find yourself another adult who will take you seriously. Yeah, Melissa shared, I talked to my aunt when I was young and hoped that she would talk to my mom, right? Sometimes it's harder, like, to talk to your own parent, and, like, you need someone else to smooth over that conversation. Yeah, so I totally get that. Okay, I know that we're literally out of time, but I want to just end on, like, thinking about coping skills that work for us. I know that we've talked about so much, and I want us to also think about like, right, we have our trusted adults, and also to think about like healthy coping skills that work for us. What are some things that if we're feeling stressed or if we're having a bad day, what might be some things that work for you all? I'd love to hear from you all. Like, what are some coping skills that work for you? What are some things that help you feel better if you're feeling stressed out or if you're having a bad day? Painting, music. This is always my favorite part because some people have like very different things, and it's always nice to hear like different people's experiences. Painting, usually, exercise, music. I always have like one person who tells me they like to clean, and I'm always so impressed with that because like stress cleaning is the one thing, like I feel like I make messes when I'm stressed. So I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna organize this, and then everything's a mess. YouTube dance party, music, stand-up videos, right? I see a lot of themes with music. Maybe some people like to listen to music, some people maybe play music, watching movies, right? Watching like funny videos. Sometimes I like to watch like dogs reuniting with owners. Like those videos just warm my soul. If I'm feeling inspired.
One question, Rachel, about the music. I know when I was younger, it was a long time ago, I know, but when I would get down or in dark places, sometimes I would listen to music that would make me feel really kind of worse to kind of keep me in that space. And it wasn't, I realized later on that it wasn't the best thing for me. So I just wanted to ask about how you feel about that.
You know what, I feel like I was the same way. And sometimes like you need music to kind of like, I feel like sometimes it's like also like watching sad movies. Like sometimes you like want to kind of like be in those feelings where you're like listening to sad music or you're watching a sad movie. So you feel like you can like kind of work out those emotions. I would say, you know, if that is something that like works for somebody to help them like feel better, but if they're feeling like it's just making them feel worse, then try and talk to someone or maybe think about like what are some coping skills that maybe help you feel better in these moments. Because I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with like listening to sad music. I think for some people, like sometimes that works for you. Like you want to listen to sad music, you want to watch a sad movie or read a sad book. But I don't think, you know, right, things Deb, I think, right, like it can be validating. But I think sometimes if maybe you feel like it's making you feel worse, then try and think about something that might, you know, help you feel better. If you're feeling like it's just putting you in a really bad space, you know, talk to somebody. I see that somebody also wrote like talking to friends, right? Sad music can trigger a lot of emotions. And again, sometimes it could be good to get those emotions out, and maybe sometimes it could be really overwhelming. So I feel like it's hard to figure out that fine line. I mean, I know I still like to read like sad books and like watch sad movies. I don't know, something about it, like that's like what I gravitate to. I'm like, those are my times that I can get a good cry. But yeah, no, you don't want it to be too overwhelming. So I know I'm over time. I'm gonna put like, for those of you who didn't fill out the form on Monday, I'm going to put the form here again. If you filled it out on Monday, I think it doesn't let you fill it out a second time, but take a minute to fill this out. I did see that we got some new responses yesterday. So for those of you who did say yes, that you do want to talk to somebody, Adriana will check in with you. Again, I want you all to know that if you feel like you need to talk to somebody right now, we are here for you. You could private message us in the chat. We could always go into a breakout room if anyone wants to talk right now. I, again, want to encourage you, if anything is overwhelming, if, you know, this triggered some feelings in any of you, please don't hesitate to reach out and talk to somebody. Again, Adriana is going to check in with you pretty quickly, but if you feel like you need to talk to somebody sooner than that, please don't hesitate. Again, I appreciate you all for such wonderful participation. I love hearing from you. I love seeing you all in the summer. And then some of you I've seen in winter in the classroom. So it's nice to see people again, see some faces. I want to remind you all of the ACT message, right? If you're ever worried about yourself, if you're ever worried about a friend, remember to acknowledge, to care, to tell, know that there is help always available for you. There are people who care about you all so, so much. So I'll end it right there, but yes, take a minute to fill out this form, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your summer.